So I'm Joe Fallett, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Yombu, Inc. These are finger people. So we actually are a way to pay by fingerprint with biometrics. So our tagline is pay naked. So if you pay with Yombu, you don't need anything but yourself in order to pay. So what is the product? So we are a biometric payment, loyalty, and access platform that needs nothing but your fingerprint in order to pay. So what I have right here is our payment device. This will sit on the counter at places like a coffee shop. And so when it sits on the counter, then a customer will come up, think about an end user, they can swipe their card, associate their fingerprint, and then they become their way to pay. So they don't need anything else other than themselves in order to pay. And we also use it as a means of access to certain facilities. And there's a reward associated with every transaction that occurs for each of our merchants. So what markets do we serve? So we serve two main markets. So first off, it's quick serve. In the quick serve space, you can think about it as anywhere that there's a stationary point of sale, repeat customers. Good example of that would be a coffee shop, fast food, fast casual. And so in that space, what's the merchant value proposition? And so there's really three different things. So one is it's a faster way to pay and much more secure versus paying with a regular credit card. We blend in loyalty programs as well. So you can think about that as, if you go to a CVS, you go to a grocery store, you have to dip your chip in one location, you have to enter in a phone number somewhere else. We take those two things and put them together. So you pay and you earn rewards all with your fingerprint, and then we reduce the rewards fragmentation across different merchants. So everywhere that has Yombu deployed, you walk in and your way to authenticate is always just your fingerprint. So then for customers, we get good data on them. So compare this to, for instance, someone who just walks in and swipes their card. You don't know who they are. If they sign up with Yombu, when they sign up, they swipe their card, they associate their fingerprint, and then we get their phone number too. And so now we have a way to do text-based marketing. They start transacting with us. We then get them to sign up for our app. Once they've signed up for the app, then we get their email as well. And so then we sell that data back to the merchants who can essentially market directly to the customers. So then on the membership side, this is a separate market. You can think about this like a gym. So at a gym, our technology is deployed to do entry to the gym, to do payment at the gym for something like a protein shake, and even to check into a personal training session. So in the gym space, we do everything that we do in quick serve, and then we also do member access. So get into the gym, for instance, with your fingerprint. And there's a few other examples there too. So we're actually at a zoo. We're at indoor play facilities where we link up a waiver directly to your fingerprint in addition to payment and also to a reward system. Stadiums is another big target of ours. Basically anywhere that member access matters. So where are we today? So we are a DC-based company, and so we're in that tri-state area there, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. We're at 26 merchant locations. We went to market 11 months ago. In that short time frame, actually the first 6 months we spent refining the product, we've signed up 6,500 end users. And about half of those have repeated, and actually about 35% have done 3 or more transactions. And so by fingerprint, we've processed about $1 million in small dollar payments. And over here on the bottom left, you can see a few example merchants. So T's and U is a coffee shop. The customers there really love us because they come in for their cup of coffee very frequently. Zoofari is a zoo that we're at. Someone uses their fingerprint to get in. That's their season pass. They can then go pay around the zoo all by fingerprint. Scramble is an indoor play place. That's actually an interesting market for us because when a customer signs up, they swipe their card, they associate their fingerprint, and then they also associate a waiver in addition to their fingerprint and their card. So anytime they come back, they walk in, walk up to the front desk, put their finger down. That authenticates them to show that they've signed that waiver for liability reasons. They pay their $7 entry fee. They earn rewards at the same time. Then they walk into the facility and they can buy their kids chicken nuggets at the cafe. So what's been our go-to-market strategy? So we're building merchant density through local expansion in DC, Maryland, and Virginia through a hub and spoke model. We have an initial focus on the quick serve market. Reason being is that there's just a lot of coffee shops, fast food, fast casual around. It's easier to build the front end software. But so one thing that we're working on now is we're looking to really scale up in the membership space. And so we actually have a very interesting licensing deal, which we'll announce next month. We're going into 26 big box gyms. In those gyms, you can do fingerprint to get in, fingerprint to pay, and even fingerprint to redeem a personal training session. So why now? Why is now the right time for Yombu? For one, take a look at your phones. What do you have on it? You have biometrics. You have fingerprints, you have facial recognition. Customers are very amenable to paying in this way. Hardware expense has also gone way down. So the cost of biometric readers to deploy is about $100 for a biometric reader. As we do point of sale integrations, actually the rest of the hardware goes away. And so from a cost perspective, it's a lot more amenable. Then on the demand side, people really hate chip cards. And so an average chip card transaction takes about 8 to 13 seconds. We're a faster way to pay or a more secure way to pay. And I'm talking to a room full of fintech folks. M&A activity in the space is insane. So it's about $6 billion in deal value every quarter across 250 deals. We've actually shown interest from other payment processors, banks, and a few other big players in the industry. So why us? Why the Yombu team? For one, we have a patent pending on our product model. So part of our sign-up process is you swipe your card, you associate your fingerprint. You don't have to download an app to start, and that's how we've gotten so many people to sign up so quickly. We also have some amazing strategic partners. So we had to pitch WorldPay before we pitched any VC. And so they're our payment processing backend. We also have TokenX. So TokenX serves as our third-party card vault. They store all of our tokens, and then we can put processors underneath there to be processor agnostic. So then finally on the team side, my background is I worked in strategy at Chase in New York. I then moved over to Citibank in New York where I was an SVP. Our CTO is an amazing guy. He used to manage 30 full-stack developers at the Grommet. He built a payment processor before, and the company that he worked for, the Grommet, where he was CTO, went on to be sold to Ace Hardware. So where are we in terms of investment? So we've raised $1.2 million, mostly from angels and 3 family offices. We've used that to refine product market fit, to focus on the 2 markets that I discussed. Now we're looking for a bridge to Series A. And I'll be honest, part of the reason why we're doing this is because we're on the East Coast and based in DC. And so quite frankly, it's just harder to raise bigger rounds out there. But we want to use $500,000 at least up to $1 million, essentially to expand to 70 more locations, work on the licensing deals that we're doing, and establish some bigger partners in the industry, and then just continue to refine our product. So that's it. With that, I'm happy to answer a few questions and hope you all enjoyed the presentation.
Looks like we've got some questions over there in the...
It's all off the shelf. So this is actually one thing I like to emphasize. We are not a hardware play in any respect. So this terminal, we actually bought this sled, which has a credit card swiper and a fingerprint reader from Australia. And when you look abroad at competitors, this is already happening in places like Liquid Pay in Japan, Touche in Singapore, the entire country of India. You can actually serve the underbanked market by getting rid of plastic. And so forms of national ID, like in India, places like Nigeria, South Africa, are moving to biometrics. And so then the next step is really just to connect in individuals. But on the hardware side, this is a Morpho E3 fingerprint reader. This is a MagTech card swiper. This is a Samsung J5. Our new model, which can integrate into any POS, we just built a plastic mold, and I can even show it to you. I brought one with me today. But we have a signed agreement with Revel. We're integrating with multiple processors. And so when we integrate with processors, we're integrating with POS companies. When we integrate with POS companies, they have a card swiper, they have a front-facing screen for the customer, so you can just plug in a fingerprint dongle there, and literally all of the hardware goes away. And even with the licensing deal that we're doing in the gym space, the specific client that our software integration partner has, they're a major name, you'd know it if you heard it. They already had all the hardware, so they had digital persona, URU 4500 fingerprint readers. They had tablets all over the gym. They had card swipers. So we became a pure SaaS play in that market. So yeah, just emphasizing that we're not a hardware play, nothing proprietary about the hardware.
Sir?
The question is, how to prove the fingerprints? So compared to, say, something like iPhone, it's a comparable to iPhone in terms of proof, easy to leave. Let's say, what are fingerprints on touch? Are there any?
Yeah, it's a great question. So
Could you kind of reiterate that question for the audience a little bit?
sure. So he's basically asking, how foolproof are fingerprints? So he's getting into what's called false reject rates and false acceptance rates. So fingerprints have probably about 98% accuracy overall. And a lot of it depends on how many fingerprints you have on that individual, what the quality score is, a whole bunch of other factors. That said, we are a multi-factor way of authenticating. So when you sign up, you swipe your card, we get a PIN number, we then get a phone number. But then as we grow, we're developing interesting ways to authenticate you, which is not just the fingerprint. So our next generation model has facial recognition in it. We're also analyzing spend patterns. And once you download our app, we then have a beacon on you. So through these multiple factors, fingerprint, phone number, PIN number, geolocation, spend transaction behavior, the beacon that is your phone, we're essentially developing a giant behavioral biometric. And so to be honest, in presentations like this, I simplify it to say fingerprint payments. But when you actually peel back the onion on what we are, yes, we're a payments company. Yes, we're finding interesting ways to integrate into that ecosystem, but we're also an authentication as a service provider. And so we, like in the gym model, just license our APIs for enrollment, for matching, for the payment integration, in order to do all of those things. But to your point, if you just use one single fingerprint alone, that's not enough. If you look at competitors, so like Liquid Pay in Japan, they have a 3 fingerprint model. So the idea is for the customer to perceive it as single factor. In their model, they have these 3 factors. But we'd argue that even as you scale with that, that ends up being a problem of processing speed. And so that's why we're trying to use multiple factors where we can bin fingerprints in certain ways. So for example, if you enter in your PIN number first, which we require right now but won't be required in the future necessarily, we bin you down to that group based on the 4-digit PIN. If we have trouble getting over a confidence threshold, we then ask you for your phone number. But now as people download our app, we get the beacon, we get the spend data, we get all that. So it's really a multi-factor approach.
Any other questions? Well, looks like we have 1 or 2 more. Okay, yeah.
Nope. Okay, go there
I'll
first.
let you.
Yeah, I heard a lot about your customer acquisition model. That was awesome. I'd like to hear more about the revenue model and what kind of market saturation levels do you think you need to reach before you start really making cash flow positive kind of numbers?
Yeah, I mean, the cash flow positive is very based on how much we want to grow. I'd say that we could sustain it with probably about 1,000 merchants if we wanted to. So our unit economics are about, at a run rate basis, about $5,000 per merchant per location. So the way that we make money is really 3 ways. The biggest revenue driver is a platform fee. So in all these places, like, give you an example, the indoor play facility we're in, we charge them $250 a month for doing our payment rewards marketing entry system. Coffee shops make about $99 a month on a platform fee. And in some locations, we charge usage fees. So for instance, if you're redeeming an offer, we always do spend X to get Y. We charge a percentage of credit values redeemed for having delivered them a loyal customer. And then the third way that we make money, which actually will increase as we grow, is we have a revenue share agreement with WorldPay. So for every dollar that's made, we basically get a rev share off of that. Right now, we're a referral partner. As we eventually graduate into becoming a PayFac, a payment facilitator, we can make a ton more money on that.
Let's take one more question.
It seems to me
So smaller retailers, it's about 3 months. Bigger retailers, it's 6 to 18 months. But so through point of sale integrations and through doing a licensing play, for example, if we get Five Guys is a burger shop that we're approaching. They have 1,000 locations. So even if it takes 6 to 18 months to get that, that's a whale to bring in. Through this licensing play with the gym software company, they have giant gyms on board like Crunch and Equinox Fitness. So now that we're integrated with them, we basically have a separate license where it's a data storage fee, it's a fee per device. Every time they decide to go to another gym who wants to implement biometrics, and it's all the craze, especially on the East Coast with gyms, they just do it, and all we do is we invoice them for it. So long story short, we're looking for distribution channels like payment processors. So WorldPay has 170,000 merchants. We're trying to negotiate a deal to distribute in their base. We're integrating with Revel. Revel has tens of thousands of merchants. We're negotiating a separate revenue share deal in addition to the integration deal in order to distribute within their base. And then we're trying to scale up licensing and also the sales to these bigger clients who really want it. And actually a preview of what's coming is we want to integrate ACH. So you sign up with a credit card in less than 20 seconds at point of sale, but then you go back to the comfort of your own home, can take a picture of a check, and then all of a sudden we have a much lower cost processing channel. And so we're talking with grocery stores and big box retailers saying if we take a processing fee and move it from 3% down to pennies on a transaction irrespective of size, would you be interested? You'd be surprised how interested people are.
Interesting. Okay, let's give a round of applause for Joe.